Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 48th episode of Visioncon Live, your go-to nerdy talk show. I'm your host, Zach Wilson, but you didn't come here to see me today. You came to see the woman of the hour. She's Asuka from Evangelion, Laura from Infinite Stratos, Nojiko from One Piece, just to name a few. She's the legendary entertainer and the queen of the anime scream. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome the one, the only, Tiffany Grant. Tiffany, how are we doing today?
Woo! I'm doing great, thank you. I hope everybody else watching is too. Thank you. I'm glad to be here. That was a very exciting build-up.
I gotta say, it has been a while since we have had such an anticipated episode of VisionCon Live, which, to be fair, can you blame us?
I don't know. I mean, all that just to see my giant Hello Kitty mug.
I've got to say, it's pretty fashionable. I might have to ask you where you got it, because my girlfriend's a huge fan of Hello Kitty.
Yes, that information is something I can't reveal. And this was actually a gift a few years ago. It was either, I don't remember if it was Christmas or my birthday, but from Jeremy Barber. And he's actually, I know he's not on this chat right now, but he's in the fan club. So he posts a lot of random stuff in the Tiffany Grant fan club. But this is one of my best gifts that I ever received. And I told Jeremy I drink out of it like every day, multiple times. 18 ounces. It's great.
Well, Jeremy,
I don't know. So that's Jeremy where he bought it.
Jeremy, if you're watching right now, what's going on, man? Send me that link. But this later, what's going on, Jeremy? But with that, Tiffany, I'd like to get us started with, obviously, you are vastly well-known, done huge waves in both the anime and just the entertainment industry in general. But what I want to get us started with is, how did we get here? Was showbiz always the plan, or did something happen later in life that kind of got you to where we are today?
Well, I have often said that I think that being an actor is a congenital condition. It is a birth defect for which that I have personally no cure. And it just was something that I was always aiming towards. I just always felt like, oh, I'm an actor, I'm a performer. That's just who I am. It's what I do. That's it. It was never like, I'm going to become this someday. It was more like, I am this right now. So I don't know. When I was little, I always wanted to perform, and in fact, did a little variety show with my cousin Helen that back in the 70s. It was called The Helen and Tiffany Show.
I love it.
And because it was in the 70s, no one had cell phones. And nobody in our family had like any kind of home movie cameras, like video cameras weren't even a thing yet. But so yeah, there's no recordings of it, which is very, very sad. But yeah, that was, I don't know, I just did that, and it just kind of all rolled along from there into doing speech and debate classes and drama classes and junior high and high school, and
so
stopped.
Did you think that any of that, be it speech and debate, obviously, but also your theater work as well, kind of directly brought you to kind of voiceover work?
Yeah, really, because that was always something that I was interested in. When I was, I think about 9 years old, I got this Sony tape recorder as I always get confused if it's Christmas or my birthday, because my birthday's in October and then Christmas is in December, and I don't know, it just kind of gets all muddled up. But anyway, I got this, it was a white Sony tape recorder. It was kind of round. It was so super hip and mod looking for, 1977 or whenever I got it. Anyway, I loved it because I could buy cassette tapes and do like sort of little radio plays on them. So I would make up these characters, and I would get like my cousin Helen or my friend Jimmy, and we would create these stories, and we would record them. And that was like my initial voice acting. So I was fascinated with voice acting, listening to voices in cartoons, but even just like somebody doing a commercial on the radio, and I would try to mimic it, and like, how did they deliver that line? And I really connected with that. So I had no idea how you could do any of that other than, recording sketches on your tape recorder with doing really bad, like Barbara Walters impressions. That was a thing that we did. And I mean, I didn't know. So all I did was theater. Like that was very accessible. So that's what I tell people is like, if you want to be an actor, just be in theater. It's like everywhere, you know, it's in your junior high or high school, college, it's community theater. It's just everywhere. And they always are looking for people to participate. So that's what I did. And then when I heard about the audition, which is, it's almost 27 years ago now, but it was February 12th, 1994. And I heard about this audition that like, oh, you know, they're looking for people to be voices in this animated movie. Like anime wasn't really a word that I knew of or anything at that time. So yeah, I mean, I went in and I auditioned. I was like, well, you know, I've auditioned for theater parts before, so I can do this. And yeah, I mean, I did. And, and there you go.
Look where we are now.
And this is where we are now, 27 years later. Yeah.
Before we get too much into the episode, guys, I see a lot of you are already posting in the live chat, your guys' viewers, comments, and questions. Don't worry, we see you guys. At the very end of the show, we're going to go all the way to viewers, comments, and questions, and you will get your questions answered, and we'll be able to talk to you guys for a little bit. But before then, got a lot to talk about, and without further ado, I wanted to talk about a few of your most notable characters, Tiffany. And the first one being, and come on, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about her, the one, the only Asuka. So to kick us all off,
just so people know that I'm wearing my Asuka here.
For audio listeners, Tiffany just showed off her Asuka shirt that she was wearing.
And my Asuka earrings. Okay.
Without a doubt. To start us off, before we get too deeply into the conversation, a brief overview about Asuka, kind of how you got the role, any fun anecdotes involved with, you know, playing Asuka, and just anything at all.
Okay. Well, so when ADV got Evangelion, we had been dubbing anime for a couple years at that point. So I had worked on several shows, and I went in to record on something. And this would have been sometime late, like in the fall, winter, or something like that, maybe, of 1996. And when I went into the studio, the engineer was working on some show, and I did not recognize it. Like, what is that show that you're working on? Well, I thought that they were working on some new show, and I wasn't working on it yet. So I went right into the director's office, Matt Greenfield, and I was like, hey, I heard you're working on this new show. How come I'm not in that? and so I was like, you know, can I do like a background character, or can I? And he goes, no, you have a character that's going to be in it later. And, you know, it was some kind of, I don't have one back here, but there was an Asuka figure where she's like in the plug suit. And he's like, it's that character right there. And he's like, you can't do any other roles until she's introduced, and, you know, it's coming up and you just have to wait. And I just thought, well, you know, she's not in it yet, then she must not be that important. But I didn't directly audition for the part of Asuka. So basically my audition for playing Asuka was really like, I had been Komei Sawaguchi in Blue Seed, and I was Maki in Burn Up. So I had done these kind of really kind of take charge female characters before. And even like really the very first character that I played, Reina in Guy Double Target, she was a really sassy gal, and she was only like 15 or 16 years old. So it was all kind of leading up to that. And I didn't even know that there had been auditions for Evangelion. So I just, and then the other like coincidental thing is that I could speak German. And so Asuka speaks German, and just was all like this serendipitous stuff. And unbeknownst to me, people who were working at ADV, who were like sort of familiar with the show and they knew about it, they were coming into Matt's office and going, oh, so Tiffany is playing Asuka, right? So it was just like apparently that obvious to everyone that like Tiffany is Asuka. So yeah, that's kind of all that, how that all happened. And So what, people who have seen Evangelion know Asuka doesn't come in until episode 8. So I actually got the videotape so that I could watch the first 7 episodes. I was like, well, she's supposed to be such an important character. I should know what's going on. So I watched the first 7 episodes, and it's about some whiny little bitch named Shinji, and he's like, I mustn't run away. What a brat, And then, hey, here's Asuka, and now everything gets really good.
There you go.
So, that's kind of how that all happened.
I was about to say, the first 7 episodes is just us yelling, Shinji, getting the goddamn Ava.
Yes, Shinji getting the effing robot. Yeah, I know. That's all it is. That's all it is.
Well, and obviously Evangelion, a massively popular and phenomenal series, and it is definitely in its core a mech anime. However, it has a lot of subtle undertones that involve mental health and Asuka and all the other characters.
Right.
Having to combat not only these giant angels bent on destroying the world and, third impact and whatnot, but also just facing their pasts and their past traumas. So while playing Asuka, was there ever a point where you kind of just gained a bit of a more additional insight on kind of mental health, the importance of being cognitive, of mental illness, and just anything like that?
I will be honest with you and say that at first I really wasn't. So I was only kind of seeing it in these chunks. I hadn't seen the entire show when we started working on it. I was only seeing it, like a couple episodes at a time. So I really wasn't aware of that. And then, it was more like when the show was completed, the original 26 episodes. And then a few years after that, we went in and did the Death and Rebirth and End of Evangelion. And so it's really kind of coming out more in that. But then when people who are watching the show now or have started watching it, let's say since 2004, which is a very, very long time, I know.
Tiffany, did we lose you? Hang on, guys, real quick. We'll a bit technical difficulty.
Maybe don't realize that the director's cut. Yeah, can you still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, right. So when that footage was added in, that so-called director's cut footage, that really added a lot of background information about Asuka's personality and the things that she had gone through. And she was, essentially she was suicidal. And, then of course, as I started really meeting a lot of people at conventions, so many people approached me and told me about how that had affected them and how they related to, Shinji, or they related to Asuka. And the show had really helped them deal with mental health issues. So, yeah, at first, I really wasn't so much aware of the part that played in it. But, now it's very obvious for anyone to see. And, of course, now people can sit down and, I don't recommend it, but binge watch the whole thing at one time. I think it's really kind of groundbreaking in that way that it does address those issues. Just want to check my battery here and make sure I'm okay. Yes. Okay.
We doing all right?
Yes, doing okay.
Oh, well, I wanted to make sure we had enough time for the battery because the next character, there are definitely parallels you can draw with Asuka, but definitely she's a character of her own, and I have become a recent fan of this character and the show. That, of course, I am talking about the one and only Laura Bodewig from Infinite Stratos. So again, before we dive too much into it, just give us a brief overview, any funny anecdotes involved in getting the role or playing the role or anything at all.
Yeah. So I was a script writer on Infinite Stratos, and so when I am writing the scripts on a show, I will sit down and watch the whole thing in advance before I, start writing the scripts. And Matt Greenfield was the director on this also. And I started watching the show, and I see Laura Bodewig, and I paused it, and I went into Matt's office, and I said, "There's a loud German girl in the show." And then I just went back to my desk. It was basically me telling him, like, I'm playing Laura. You know? It's just like, that's literally everything I said to him. I was like, there's a loud German girl. So that's kind of what there was to that. Yeah, but she was fun, and she is different in her own way. We don't get quite as much of the backstory on Laura as we did on Asuka, but you know, she's a complex character, and yes, they do both have an eye patch over their left eye. I know. I've really liked the idea that I'm now specializing. This is a niche that I play German teenage mecha pilots who have a patch over one eye, the left eye. Specifically, it must be the left eye. So.
I mean, hey, when it works, it works.
Absolutely. And then I also ended up playing, there were several sort of like Bridge Bunny characters that were Germans that just had a few lines, and I played all of those as well. The only one I didn't play is the sort of commander character. If I trying to recall what her name was, Clarissa or something like that. And that role was done by Shannon Emmerich,
Okay.
who plays Charlotte in the show, or Charles.
Okay. Right. Well, and you kind of brought up a little bit of it, and it's when we're saying that there are definitely some similarities between Laura and Asuka, you know, the eye patch, of course, being one of them, but also they're both very determined. They both definitely have an initial abrasive attitude, especially to new people. But there are also very big differences as well between the two. So I did want to ask, through playing both of them, was there ever a time that you kind of started to personally relate to either one of them? And if so, was there one you kind of started to relate to a little more than the other?
Well, I think probably I do relate a little bit more to Asuka, and that just may be an aspect of playing her for such a long time and feeling like that Asuka is really a part of my life. Yeah, I would say probably I find myself relating to Asuka a little bit more, and hopefully there's more Asuka in my future, and hopefully there's more Laura Bodewig in my future too. I mean, I think that there have been some substantial rumors for a while that there could be a third season of IS, and I hope so.
Well, there's always room in the world for more angry German women who wear eye patches.
Exactly.
Well, to round us off, and a little bit a different demeanor than the other two characters, I want to talk a little bit about Nami's much more level-headed sister, Nojiko. So,
yes.
Well, we dive a little too much into it. Overview, any funny anecdotes, and anything at all about our girl Nojiko.
Yeah, so Nojiko, right, she is Nami's older sister, and she's introduced pretty early on in the One Piece story arc. And it's when they go and they dive in like to the background of each of the characters, and this is when they dive into Nami's backstory. And Nojiko is the older sister. She and Nami were both adopted by this really fierce lady called Bellamere, and who sort of took them both in as orphans and raised them. And then the tragedy strikes. I'm not getting way too many spoilers, but I mean, the show has been out for a long time now, folks. Anyway, so Bellamere sort of bites the dust, protecting them. Now she's holding a tangerine there, and so they live on like this tangerine orchard, basically. But I worked with Mike McFarland on that, recording Nojiko. And as far as funny anecdotes, okay, when I was originally recording the first batch of episodes, because periodically, like, there'll be a flashback and Nojiko's in there again for a couple episodes or something. When we were recording this, it was when the Simpsons movie had just come out, and there was this commercial that they kept playing for the Simpsons where Homer was singing some song about Spider Pig does whatever a Spider Pig does. And Jason Grundy was the engineer when we were working on that. And I remember that constantly while we were recording One Piece, and I may never have shared this anecdote with anyone before. I don't remember if I have. Anyway, he kept going, he kept saying, Nojiko, doing whatever a Nojiko does. So every time I think of Nojiko, I think of Jason singing that ridiculous song that has nothing to do with One Piece.
I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a fun anecdote if I've ever heard one.
Yes.
Alrighty, guys, we're approaching the halfway point. So I did want to reiterate that if you guys are watching this live here on Facebook, got a bunch of links in the live chat that you guys can click that are associated with Tiffany Grant that we will get to in a minute. But you also have plenty of time to either message Visioncon directly, which plenty of you have already done, or post in the live chat your viewers' comments and questions that we'll get to at the end. And then if you're watching this later on YouTube, all of those links are going to be down in the description box below, guys. But with that, I did want to talk about one different thing that I think that the world definitely needs right now, Tiffany. Now, give me just one sec to get all my stuff all together, and we'll talk about it. That, of course, is it's a bit more of an altruistic sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of, it's just, I'll stand by what I said initially. It's definitely what the world needs right now. And that, of course, is, let me hit the right button this time. There it is. And that, of course, is Voices for Peace and Voices for Tolerance. Now, give all the folks watching at home, either live here on Facebook or later on either YouTube or listening on Spotify, all about Voices for Tolerance.
Okay, well, this is all the brainchild of my good friend, Jan Scott Frazier. And she just kind of came to her one day to do the original project, Voices for Peace, which we did back in 2007. And so we created this album. Now, at the time that we created it, it only came out on a CD. So it is not available for digital download. Those are separate rights that she did not get the rights for. So I believe you can still buy the CD from CD Baby, though. Now, Voices for Tolerance, we did it a couple years later. And Voices for Tolerance, you can get that digitally. And you can get that from iTunes or CD Baby. And so what we did with this is we used all of the proceeds from the sale of the albums to donate money to charities like Doctors Without Borders and Southern Poverty Law Center. So that's what we did with the money. And it was a lot of fun when we were able to have concerts at conventions promoting it. But if anybody wants to find out more about that, you can go to voicesfor.org. It's just voices, F-O-R, voicesfor.org. And so that's kind of the story of how that all happened. And there's a lot of big anime names that people would recognize who worked on it, like Amanda Wynn Lee and Chris Patton, Greg Ayers, Chris Ayers. There were a ton of really talented folks who lent their talents to that endeavor.
And previous guests on Visioncon Live, so plenty of people watching right now are very familiar with those names.
Excellent.
Alrighty, guys. Well, speaking, and all of those links that we just talked, and plenty more, again, are going to be in the live chat if you're watching this live on Facebook, or if you're watching this later on YouTube, going to be down there in the description box below, including many other ones, which, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, if you're watching this live on Facebook, either message Visioncon directly your viewers' comments and questions, or put in the live chat. You have time to do so, but it is your last chance because, ladies and gentlemen, we're in the plug zone. Tiffany Grant.
Oh, plug zone.
Now is your opportunity to plug, promote, advertise, whatever verb you want to use. Anything you want. The floor is yours.
Okay. Well, gosh, I'm not really good at this part. But so we haven't been able to do conventions now for almost a year. And if people are familiar with me, they know that I love to do conventions. I've been doing conventions since 1997, and I've done a lot of them. But in lieu of being able to do conventions, I will do for people. They want to contact me at my email, which I'm sure you're just going to put the link on there. But literally Google my name, and it's everywhere. So I have these postcards. They are limited edition official Gunsmith Cats postcards that I have for sale that I will personalize and autograph and mail to you. And they're $12 or 2 for $20. And there's that headshot that I made, a little montage thing. It was my first character montage I ever made. So be gentle with me. And so that's $15, and that includes the postage. So I'm not really trying to get rich off of these things here, but anyway, so I'll do a video shout out, or I'll record your voicemail message, etc. So you can contact me at my email address, Asuka, T-O-O, Asuka2@AOL.com. It's AOL because I've had the same email address since 1996 or 97 or something like that. And yeah, if you don't have to remember it, you can just Google me, and that email address is just literally everywhere. It's everywhere.
We'll also have that email in the YouTube description later.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then for the folks watching at home that just want maybe some more of their daily Tiffany, I wish I would have said something better than that. Where can they go on Facebook to kind of just, get the day-to-day about Tiffany?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I do have a Facebook group. So I'm not a big social media person, but I did get dragged a little bit kicking and screaming. But no, I do like it. Into Facebook a few years ago. So yeah, I didn't actually start the Facebook group. It actually started back, I think, in 2007. And I didn't join it for several years, but I'm in there. I go on there at least once or twice a day, and I interact with people and answer their questions, and I post messages and information and things on there. And it's just a fun, no drama group. We don't get into any heated discussions about anything. We just talk about anime and Asuka and Evangelion and related stuff like that. Yeah, so that's what we do, and you can find me there in the Tiffany Grant Fan Club on Facebook, and I'm sure you'll post the link for how people can find that. And yeah, I would love to hear from people there, and come join us. Have fun.
Got all those links in the live chat if you watch this live on Facebook, or in the description box on YouTube if you're watching this later on YouTube. And with that, guys, we're going out of the plug zone and going to our final segment, viewers' comments and questions. So as always, guys, we're just going to take some from the messenger, some from the live chat, so everybody gets a fair shot. So let me get the messenger up real quick. Okay, all right. So the first one, so a lot of people are saying, hi, what's up? What's going on, Chris? What's going on, John? All right. And then speaking of Chris, Chris tuned in and said, hey, Tiffany, what was it like voicing Martel from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, if people are familiar with Full Metal Alchemist, my character in the original series, she was Marta, and then in Brotherhood, she was Martel. So in the original FMA, she's a pretty major character, and Marta's in like 10 episodes. And when I came back for Brotherhood, Martel was like, oh, hi, I'm a snake lady. Oh, now I'm dead. It was like that. It was like so fast. So if I hadn't played her in the original FMA, I probably would, it would have been very memorable for me having played Martel in Brotherhood. But I really did enjoy that role very much in the original FMA. I remember when Mike McFarland brought me in to play the part, he said, she's kind of a bad girl with a heart of gold, and everybody's going to be really upset when she dies. And all that was true. But I enjoyed it a lot.
Steve tuned in and just said, Laura, wunderbar.
Wunderbar.
I was hoping I pronounced that correctly.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so John tuned in and asked a couple questions. First one being, question for Tiffany. Is there a live action TV show or movie that you have seen that you would think would make a great anime adaptation? Oh, look at you, John.
Goodness. Well, gosh, I guess there's several of them. I'm watching WandaVision. Is everybody watching that? I'm guessing everybody is probably watching WandaVision. Yeah. That would probably be cool as an anime. I mean, I don't really know what's happening so far, but I think that would be a good anime.
It's a little out there, I will admit, WandaVision.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure out what's happening, but I'm in. I'm fully in. I'm in it to win it.
It reminded me that I have a Disney Plus subscription.
Mm-hmm.
Something I keep on forgetting that I have. Okay. Yeah. So Wesley tuned in and said, hey, Tiffany, I have some Evangelion pops and the full original Blue Seed box set. Is there a chance that I could, Is there a chance that I could send that and with payment and get you to sign it?
Absolutely. Yes. Just go to my email. Just contact me via email and we will get that all set up and you can get your pop signed.
Hell.
I didn't sign the ones that I have. I don't sign my own pops. And there's
I gotta have
the
some
other one
gotta have some humility.
over there. I don't know if you can see her, but anyway.
So John tuned in again and said, will it be bittersweet to see the final Evangelion movie?
Yeah, probably. I've been pretty outspoken about the fact that I do not buy that this is really like, goodbye, all of Evangelion. Like, oh, there's never going to be any more. Like, really, there's never going to be any more. I mean, this is like the cash cow that laid the golden egg. I mean, to mix the metaphor there. I mean, no, there's no freaking way. I mean, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't believe this is the end of it all. So
it can't be.
It can't be. I mean, maybe I'm in denial, but maybe also like I've been, working on Ava for almost 25 years. So
who else? But
I'm a little doubtful.
All right, we got time for about 2 more questions. Christian tuned in and said, hey, Tiffany, I have a couple questions to ask. Aside from Asuka, who would you say was one of the better characters you've worked on? And, okay, so we'll go on that one first, then I'll ask the next question.
Okay. Oh, wow. One that I really enjoyed playing a lot was Shizuru in Go Danner. I really enjoyed that role very much. It's another show that I did the scripts for as well, but that one is one that I feel pretty passionately about, Shizuru.
And then he also said, so although you've been involved in acting for a really long time, what would have been your backup plan if you weren't involved in the entertainment world?
Well, I've always enjoyed writing, so that's, another career that isn't very lucrative. So you can see how I've got my sights set. Probably if I wasn't acting, I guess I would be writing, because I've been writing anyway, so I've managed to incorporate that into what I do. I tell you something that I did for many, many years. I live in Georgia now, but when I was living in Houston, I worked as a volunteer for 9 years at the Wildlife Center of Texas. And so besides doing wildlife rehabilitation, I was also a wildlife educator. And that is something that I was really passionate about. So I could have seen that could have turned into some kind of career, probably doing that kind of thing.
Well, the last one to finish us off on, I picked a really good one for last. So Lindsay tuned in and said, Yo, Tiffany, sappy moment, But I just want to thank you for all the life you have given Asuka. She's an important character to me growing up. Anyhow, do you have any memorable moments while recording lines as Asuka, like goofs or red fork to the eye screaming? That she put anyhow in all caps.
Oh. Well, let me just tell you, yeah, there's some serious red fork to the eye, lance of Longinus, some pretty serious throat-ripping screaming that did take days to recover from. So, girl, you are not wrong on that. And yeah, I mean, there's several anecdotes that I have. I mean, like when we were doing this series and the scene where Asuka kisses Shinji, and then afterwards, like she runs to the bathroom and there's like gargling, and so I can remember doing that gargling, but then I kind of started laughing and I almost like choked myself because I was like inhaling the water. And then the other thing, one of my other very vivid memories, and this is not really funny at all, but it was when we were working on doing End of Evangelion. And that was being directed by Amanda. And it was the really climactic scene, you know, where Asuka is really losing it. And she's curled up in a fetal position inside the entry plug. And she's kind of rocking back and forth. And she starts off with, it's I don't want to die. And I do not know how many times I said it. I said it like a lot of times. But it starts off where it's almost inaudible, I don't want to die, building up to me doing like a throat-ripping scream, I don't want to die. And while I was doing it, I really wasn't looking at the screen, which is what you're typically doing when you're like matching the mouth. But this wasn't so much a matching of the mouth because you couldn't really see her face, and she was kind of rocking back and forth. So back in the olden times, this is like 2000 or something like that, we used to have like a paper script on a music stand. And anyway, I was wearing a wristwatch, which I normally am, and I was rocking back and forth like Asuka, because this is very common that you will mimic your character's body language. And I was doing all this, I don't want to die, I don't want to die. And about halfway through it, my watch just barely tapped the edge of the music stand. And I was so in it that I really didn't even realize that happened. And after I finished that take, and Amanda said something like, "Oh, sweetie, that was just beautiful, but I heard this noise." And we played it back. And we played it back, and it was like, I don't want to die, I don't want to die, I don't, ding. You know, it was right in the middle of it, and it's like, oh my God, no. So I had to do it over again. And I mean, hopefully we were able to sort of like recapture the magic, but it was so frustrating because you really like just, you know, in the zone and trying to be in that moment and be really authentic. So I took my watch off.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I took my watch off that time, but yeah, I have a lot of memories of playing Asuka over the years, many times, but very much so.
And then real quick, Christian said, apologies for tuning in late, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully the interview will be uploaded later on. Absolutely no worries, Christian. And yes, it will be. It will be posted later on Visioncon's YouTube channel. And the marketing department will post it when it's all up. So you don't got to worry about that, bud.
Excellent.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 48 of Visioncon Live. Now, before we turn things off, Tiffany, any final thoughts to leave us on? Any sage-like wisdom? Anything at all?
No, let's just all, you know, hang in there just for a little bit longer, and, you know, we'll all do our part, wear our masks, and just keep everybody safe. That's, I mean, look, I really want to get back to conventions. So, I mean, you know, I'm going to be right there in line to get my vaccine when they're ready. And I'm going to be back at cons as soon as I can. And I just look forward to seeing everybody when we're able to do that.
Yeah, we're all in this together. We might as well be friends.
Absolutely.
I didn't come up with that. Steve Bloom said that.
Good.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 48 of Visioncon Live. Thank you so much for tuning in. I, of course, am your host, Zach Wilson, but much more importantly, this has been my very special guest, Tiffany Grant. Make sure to check out all the links down in the description box below. And until next time, guys, always remember that life's better when you have friends to share it with.